On Saturday night, during Berlin's Pride, a van ploughed through a crowd of people, killing 1 and injuring 29 in what was later labelled as an Islamist terrorist attack.
The West keeps bleeding from suicidal empathy, but the question is, will they ever learn? Hey guys, my name is Modi and you are welcome back to Modi Speaks. So just a few days ago, specifically on the 25th of July 2026, over there in Berlin, Germany, something happened. Something very unfortunate, but could have been totally avoided. Now, several Western media, plagued with suicidal empathy, reported this incident in the most deceptive way you can ever imagine, which is actually the usual for these guys, because I mean, they would love nothing more than to accelerate the destruction of their own homeland. So they did what they do best. The New York Times reported this incident saying, a car plowed through a park during Berlin's biggest LGBTQ pride event, killing at least 1 person and injuring more than a dozen others, city police officials said on Saturday. A car plowed into innocent people. A car. I didn't know cars had the independent ability to plow through people these days, but anyway, now what actually happened was this.
We are back with a Fox News alert. Police have now killed the suspect who allegedly drove a car through a pride parade yesterday in Berlin in what authorities say was an Islamic terror attack. 21-year-old Abdul Balut is accused of killing at least 1 and injuring 29 others. Authorities say he has Lebanese roots and is allegedly tied to the country's, quote, Islamist scene. The suspect had previously been investigated for planning a terror attack and faced legal trouble in both Lebanon and Germany.
So yeah, there you have it. Another Islamic terrorist doing what they do best, and some Western media trying to sugarcoat their crimes. So this 21-year-old man named Abdul Balut decides to drive out to this pride celebration in Berlin. Mind you, this is one of Europe's biggest pride celebrations. So he knows that there was going to be thousands and thousands of people there. The area was going to be packed, many people to be killed, right? So he drives out in his car, rams into the crowd on a pedestrian path. He crashes into a tree, jumps out with a machete, and starts slashing at anybody he could find. He killed a 65-year-old woman and critically injured 29 other individuals. He ran off afterwards, but the police hunted him down for nearly 24 hours before cornering him in a garden allotment in Spandau, where he charges at the police officers with a knife, and they ended up shooting him dead on the spot. Now, I was pissed off by this entire story. The fact that these individuals who lost their lives could have been alive now. They lost their lives for no reason. But what even got me more offended is how these Western liberals are reacting to this incident and the fact that this criminal should not even have been free to commit this crime in the first place.
Diese Nachrichten zu bekommen, dass beim CSD ein Auto reingerast ist, ein Mann in einem Auto. Und was auch für mich schockierend war, ist, dass das Erste, was ich gedacht habe, war, hoffentlich ist es kein Kanake, hoffentlich ist es eine christliche weiße Person, aber es war es nicht. Und da zeigt sich dann wieder Intersektionalität. Wir kämpfen nicht alle die gleichen Kämpfe, aber wir sind füreinander da in Momenten wie diesen. And that's beautiful.
Now, to translate what she said that she had hoped that the attacker was not a foreigner, but a white Christian person. Now, mind you, this was at a vigil for those individuals who were attacked by the terrorists. And the singer, this woman, she made this statement. Now, this woman is obviously one of the newcomers, and she is not a native. And she couldn't care less about what happens to Germany or the German people. And that is why she did not express relief that the killer is no longer free. She didn't care about the old woman who lost her life that day, nor the survivors who were actually critically maimed. She only hoped that the attacker is a white Christian person. She hoped. She looked at the blood on the ground, the bodies in the hospital, the terrorized crowd, and her primary emotional concern, her primary emotional reaction was disappointment that the skin color and the religion of the murderer did not fit her preferred political narrative. Wow. This is unbelievable. Now, there are even crazier reactions from these folks, but before we go ahead to show you those, I just want us to take a look or talk about the criminal she wished was white and Christian. Now, this guy was born in Germany in 2005. So, he is a German citizen, right? But his family is Lebanese. His mother has been naturalized in Germany for years, even before he was born. So, he is not some newly arrived stranger. He was a product of the system that insists that citizenship is going to be the magical solution to all these problems. And this is why I always emphasize on culture and the ideology behind one's upbringing. When I see people saying, oh, that criminal didn't know better. He did this because of the way he was raised in his home country, because of the ideology that he was passed down from in his home country of Pakistan, of Bangladesh, of Afghanistan, of Syria. Well, I beg to differ. Culture matters a lot, and ideologies matter a lot. The ideologies they were raised in shapes them, and that is why even if they were born and raised in the West, they still show the same tendencies that has become stereotypical to their demographic. So if you like, you can wash a pig, you can dress a pig, but at the end of the day, a pig is still going to remain a pig. Now, by age 14, this guy was already in the system. Okay? He has already committed a crime. That was in 2019, September. He beats and kicks another boy on the schoolyard of a Berlin high school in Kreuzberg. February 2022, he was sent to juvenile. Court convicts him of intentional bodily harm and robbery/extortion. He and another accomplice robbed a victim of headphones at Innsbrucker Platz. Now, the pattern was clear early. Violence, no respect for other people's property or other people's bodies. And he wasn't some random lone wolf. He was a known quantity, radicalized, part of Berlin's Islamist scene, as they call it. In 2025, he traveled to Lebanon trying to join ISIS in Syria. He was arrested there. He served 3 months there, but then he was deported back to Germany because at the end of the day, he is a German citizen. Then afterwards, following another crime, a Berlin court convicts him of preparing a serious act of violence, endangering the state and spreading ISIS propaganda. But guess what happened after that sentence? Well, it was suspended. They let him go. I think he served only 6 months and then they let him go and now enrolled him into a de-radicalization program. De-radicalization indeed, a program he barely attended, by the way. And finally now, he does exactly what everybody with brain cells know he was going to do, which is conduct a terrorist attack. Europe is not being conquered by an external army. It is being eaten from the inside by people who hate it less than the people who claim to love it. The courts that released him, the politicians who refused to name this particular dangerous ideology, the activists who wish the killer had been different, they are the ones destroying the very freedom they claim to defend. But let us hear more from, these guys.
I'm getting really, really sick of this. I'm getting really tired of having to repeat myself over and over again. So today, in Berlin, there was an attack. A van drove through a crowd of people celebrating Berlin Pride Parade that they have every year. It's a huge parade. It's one of the biggest. And they injured, I think, at this time I'm making this video, this is subject to change, 17 people, and 1 person is dead. Okay, so it's a breaking story. There are going to be things that are going to come out and change throughout the life of the story, average. So the suspect is an Islamic extremist. That's their suspect right now. That's what I read, okay? I'm not going to say anything about the rest of the Muslim population because of actions of this one person. But what I can say is the people who were celebrating about this were all white men, young white men, with crosses in their profiles. Because we've all seen it. We've all seen how you guys react towards gay people and how you wish harm on them constantly. I get a constant hate on my videos, especially about trans people. You're not going to hide behind another scapegoat group and pretend that they're actually the violent ones when it's you. You hold the same exact beliefs that this man who did this attack did. And you're trying to distance yourself from it. And you know why you're trying to do that? It's because you're ashamed. And you should be.
The brainwashing is off the charts, guys. The suicidal empathy is strong in these people. Yeah, this guy and those like him are not the violent ones. You, a reasonable individual with common sense to realize that there is something wrong with an ideology or a religion that pushes people to want to commit acts of terrorism. You are the violent one. You are the evil one just for noticing. Yes, you, reasonable people. You are the people who are violent, even when time and time again, these terrorists who carry out these acts of destruction of human lives are always tied to Islam every single time. Mind you, she has no qualms with the lady who hoped that the culprit was a white Christian person, but she has fire for people who are calling out the dangers of this dangerous ideology, the ideology of the religion of peace, which is always the common denominator as to why these Mohammedans carry out these terror attacks. Wow.
Berlin Pride ended in tragedy with 1 life lost and 29 others injured, and you're going to start to hear messages similar to this one.
The man suspected of ramming a van into a crowd at Berlin Pride reportedly tried to join the Islamic State. If this man were a right-wing Christian nationalist, every single gay person would know about this event, and you wouldn't stop hearing about it for years.
What grifters like Evan are doing are trying to leverage the grief that the queer community is currently feeling and experiencing to perpetuate violence and prejudice against another outgroup. And I really urge you all to resist messaging like this, because people like Evan do not actually care about homophobia or protecting the queer community, considering the amount of content that Evan posts that directly targets trans people. All he is doing is trying to promote Islamophobia.
Mind you, this guy never called for violence against anyone. And what he said about the alphabet court going insane over this incident if the culprit was white and Christian is the absolute truth. He did not lie. He was not calling for Christians to attack anyone. And besides, I cannot remember running into any incident where an individual charges into a group of Muslims worshipping in a mosque. I mean, a Christian charges into a group of Muslims worshipping along the road or in the mosque or whatever, chanting Jesus Akbar or God Akbar as they massacre those Muslims. I've never seen that. It is always the other way around. So these guys would rather spin every narrative they can think of in order to protect their rhetoric, and they couldn't be more angrier that the attacker did not fit their narrative. This is suicidal empathy in its purest form. The same pathology that has ruled Western elite institutions for decades. The same pathology that lets known radicals walk free after suspended sentences. The same pathology that prioritizes the feelings of the marginalized over the physical safety of the actual population. The same pathology that treats every Islamist atrocity as an opportunity to lecture the rest of us about Islamophobia and instrumentalizing queer grief. It is not as if they've not observed the pattern, guys. It is not as if they don't notice what is actually going on. It is not as if they have not seen the vehicle attacks, the knife attacks, the Christmas market attacks, the attacks on pride events, the attacks during concerts, again and again and again. The perpetrator profile aligns with the religion of peace practitioners. And again, the official response is the same. This does not define Islam. Don't focus on the radicals, please. Don't let this make you focus on the radicals. Just focus on the moderates. Meanwhile, the body count keeps rising, and the political class keep pretending that the problem is insufficient sensitivity training among the locals. Europe imported large numbers of people from countries that openly clash with its values and its beliefs. People who see European way of life as something to be destroyed, something to be replaced, something to be abolished. Then the same elites who opened the doors wide for these people demand that the native population pretend that these people are nothing but cultural enrichment. Now, when the enrichment starts murdering people at public gatherings, the response from this elite is not, maybe we should stop importing this problem. No. The response is a young woman on stage wishing that the killer was white and Christian, and white liberals lambasting reasonable citizens for calling for precaution. The Western elite has decided that certain categories of people must be protected from the consequences of their own actions. They claim that diversity is their strength, that integration is always possible no matter how they do it. The problem is never the ideology of the culture of origin. No. The problem is always the native society's failure to be welcoming enough. So when these diversities commit crimes, the court soft pedal. The probation is made very, very light or even non-existent. They send these guys to de-radicalization programs. But when the inevitable happens, when the terror strikes, the same people who created the conditions stand on stage and wish that the killer had been white and Christian, and then accused the reasonable individuals of trying to exploit the situation so their narrative would not be disturbed. But guys, we know that diversity is not strength. Unity is strength. Shared values are strength. When you import people whose fundamental view of human life, law, and authority is 180 degrees opposite to yours, you do not get a richer society. You get parallel societies, higher crime, and periodic bloodbaths. And then when you grant these people elevated status, that is citizenship that shields them from deportation, youth laws that softens sentences for them when they commit crimes, political correctness that forbids having honest discussions about what they do, you get exactly what happened in Berlin. A known radical, free to kill, allowed to kill. One woman is dead, 29 other people are critically injured, but the loudest emotional reaction from parts of the progressive left is disappointment that this criminal was not a white Christian person, and pointing fingers at innocent citizens for calling for precaution. If that does not wake you up that the West is indeed in deep trouble, then my guys, I don't know what actually will. But as always guys, these are my thoughts and my opinions. Please feel free to share yours in the comment section below, but do so respectfully. Also, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, honestly, I don't know what you're waiting for. Subscribe to the channel. Like and share this video to keep people informed, and consider joining my membership or buy me a coffee if you like, as a way of supporting the channel. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to catch you on the next one. For now, peace.